Soul Talk with Sandee M. That's right. We're here again. Guess who we're here with? Orease,
Orease.
our Orease Bowers, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
with the S at the end. See,
Yes.
got it right. All right. So Orease is okay. I'm not going to say religiosity or spirituality. I'm going to let you give a little bit of information about you. You know that Soul Talk with Sandee M is about your spiritual gifts, your talents, and your skills, how you've come about them, how you use them in your everyday life. And it doesn't even have to be spiritual. It can just be gifts that you've already always had, but now you're looking at them with a different insight. So we're just having a conversation. Like if we're in the backyard, drinking some lemonade, having some, and you know what? Asking questions is a good way to have a conversation. So he's as welcome to ask me questions as I am him. And if we embark on a question that we don't feel comfortable in, guess what we get to do? We get to take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and we get to say, I'm going to pass on that question. Okay. All right. So let's get going. So Orease and I met in TikTok, believe it or
Yes.
not.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved all his inspirational and motivational. I call them edifications. That's what I call them. Some other people might call them educational. Some people might call them gifted. So let's ask him what he calls them. Are you ready, Orease?
I am. I'm ready.
All right. What do you call what you do? No, how did you get to what you do?
Um, well, I've always had this, I guess you can say, gift of attracting people and them wanting to talk to me and me giving my advice. And that's always been part of my life anyway.
Mhm.
And I love doing it because I love helping people in any way I can. It can be with advice. It can just be a ear. Um, it could be money. It could just be, whatever it is. And when I found TikTok, because I was already on Instagram and a couple other platforms. And when I found TikTok, I found a way I could utilize those talents and reach more people. And I saw the responses I was getting. So I don't know what I would call it, but I felt that it was inspirational and it was uplifting to people from the responses that I got. So
Mhm.
I'm just like, people have been like, well, this has really helped me. It started my day off and I was feeling away and now I feel so much better. So thank you. And I felt that and that made me want to do more. So I just kept on doing it and it became a daily practice and people were looking forward to it and I just kept doing it.
Ah, well, all I know is it inspired me. It
Oh,
definitely did. I mean,
thank you.
everybody has a journey. Okay,
Right.
I would say most people ask me how my journey began. My journey began, at least the divine, or what I call the divine creator, or what some people might call Almighty God or Matrix, or the this is all an illusion, whatever they want to call that
Hmm.
higher being, has when I actually had a sit down powwow with that moment in me that said, well, when did this all start? And the divine told me, well, I've been doing this, being this type of person since I was
Hmm.
3. And I kind of went, as anybody, it's like 3. Yeah,
Right.
really. Let me go back to self. This must be a dream, right?
Right.
And then after a while, basically on Instagram, through a lot of shadow walks
Hmm.
that I would do, and it would always end up happening on. It would happen. I believe it would happen in the right place at the right time, probably on somebody's live that was actually a a placeholder for vibrational movement, and I would
Hmm.
have these uh, these inner experiences that would walk me through my little shadow and put a place marker where I would have to go in and take
Right.
some time for myself. And the 3-year-old mark, which now I understand what the my higher being was telling me, was at a place where I first, as a actual human incarnation, realized that I had a spiritual. I was surrounded by spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
literally, my mom was, when I was growing up, there was the swimming pool, the public swimming pool. On one side, you had people swimming. On the other side, they do swimming lessons. And
Mm-hmm.
my mom, I think, was there with somebody else, and she asked if maybe we could do a trial, uh, uh, if they taught, you know, children 3 and up. And the guy says, yes, we'll give you a trial one. I guess that's, based on what the people who were there that remembered it then
Right. Mm-hmm.
had told me, later on when I brought this back and said, I remember this. This is what I remembered. They said, yeah, your mom took you. And
Mm-hmm.
the swimming instructor took me as a 3-year-old and threw me in the pool as if I was 6 months.
Wow.
So as I'm going in the pool, I'm recalling that as I'm flying, that's what I thought it was. I was just like flying like a little
Right.
kid. So, right.
Right.
And I hit the water. All I could hear was all this noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when I hit the water, it wasn't like a little baby that like started to,
Right.
I just calmly, quietly went to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Right.
it wasn't there. I just remember not struggling, kind of just looking around and feeling just at peace. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
had always thought that that was just a dream
Right.
where, as whenever I would have that dream, it would like, was I watching a mermaid show or whatnot?
Mm-hmm.
Now I understand that that was part of my life. And then the divine said, this is who you are. You have always been um, um, part of the consciousness.
Yes.
You've always trusted the consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was remembering that first experience kind of went, oh, okay. I've
Right.
been on this journey a long time. And me telling this story to you, of course, that I've got to have an answer. When was your first knowing of a connection spiritually?
Uh, well, not spiritually per se, because I didn't really realize what it was that I felt that I was a spiritual being.
What
Having
would you have called it?
well, I've always felt protected, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you why. I grew up Jehovah's Witness,
Uh-huh.
but when I was old enough to say I want to go or not go, I didn't go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was
Uh,
the same way with I grew up Baptist, a
right,
Northern Baptist. Yeah.
right. But it's like I always just certain things just didn't gel with me, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But I went because you want to appease and make everybody happy, and I was a kid, so I couldn't do anything about it at the time.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, I always felt protected. Like I'd always be all right when my friends were running out and they were doing stuff they shouldn't be doing and doing all kinds of things, and I wouldn't do it. But even if I always felt that I would be all right anyway.
Right.
Like I wouldn't go to jail or I wouldn't do this, and not saying I'm above anybody. I just felt differently, and I felt that I would be fine no matter what.
Right.
Later on in life, I knew that I was, I had presence around me, and I didn't know, I couldn't see anything, but I felt it. And so I guess it came from back then, knowing that I was guided and protected. I knew it then, I just didn't know what it was. So then a friend of mine, a guy who I'm named after, actually.
Now, would you pronounce? I thank you very much that you didn't think about if I pronounced your name incorrectly, but would you pronounce it for me? Because I just pronounced it as I believe it was spelled. So
It's Orease.
Orease, okay.
Yeah, but now the guy that I'm named after, his name is Orease, and he says it's pronounced Orease, not Orease. It's Orease. But as far as when my uncles tell me when I was a baby, when because my mother, she brought me to her father's house. So my grandfather raised me, and my uncles and them had a hard time saying Orease. It just sounded too complicated. So they just said Orease. So that's all I remember. And I went through school saying Orease. So, but it's Orease, but Orease is fine.
Oh, so now the person that you're named after, did they ever tell you what your name meant?
No, he didn't. No. Okay. His mother named him, and I mean, he may have, I just don't remember it, but he's the one that introduced my wife and I to spirituality. He's, we met for lunch because I had never met him, and I met him a few years ago. And we sat down and we had lunch, and he recommended some books to my wife, and she got the books, and I started reading it. I was like, because it sounded familiar. It sounded like it felt like it resonated with me. I'm like, yes to this. Yes. And, I feel like, I'm being guided. I feel like that I can create, because all the things showing up in my life were things that I felt strongly about.
Right.
If I wanted something, and not necessarily material, if I just wanted to live a certain way, and the way I treat people, and I just treat everything, people and animals and everything, my life reflected that. So when I was reading this stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I was like, I'm creating this. If we supposed to, the majority say, we're made in God's image, well, then I've been given the power to create the life that I want to live. And I'm doing that. I'm just doing it now. I started doing it on purpose.
Yes. Yes. I love the way you say that. Yes, because from the time I started doing it inspirationally, doing the motivational and the speaking and everything, it was, I think in somewhere in spirituality, as not everyone, but a lot of individuals, they look outside of their spirituality and they look back out into the world and they say, all these people, they're sleeping, they're unconscious, they're not. I believe, I won't say I disagree with them, but because it's not about right or wrong, it's about, I believe that there was a part of us that we're all very conscious, whether we're conscious of being triune, body, mind, and spirit, or soul, or whatever you'd like to call it. Or if we're just body and mind, we're still conscious of the fact that we're living an experience.
Yes.
We might not be living the whole experience, but we're very conscious of living a life that either we like or we don't like. Right.
Yes.
For me, I believe when you come to that fork in the road that pushes you to an understanding that there's something higher than you that's part of you, then that's the trifecta for me. That's like, now I'm consciously aware of my soul or my spirit, but now that makes me even more consciously aware of my body and my mind.
Right.
I'm just more consciously aware of it. Before, I was aware that I was living life, and maybe life was happy or sad, or shit just kept happening over and over again, and I couldn't get out of. I was stuck, that kind of thing. But I just love the way you said that. It's like now I'm doing it on purpose.
Yes, because before we're living by default. We're creating and don't know we're creating because of the way we feel. We look at something, we eat something, we have a conversation with someone, and we feel a certain way about it. And so what we feel is what creates what happens next. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of my videos, I'm saying the most important thing is how you feel. You know what I mean? Because how you feel creates the reality, what you experience next. So even if something goes quote unquote wrong in your life, or something that you don't prefer, and instead of going down that rabbit hole of, oh, woe is me, why is this happening? Take a look at, okay, why is this happening? What do I have to get from this? What do I need from this? What do I get from this? And I'm not saying don't feel, because you have to get through the emotions. I'm not saying, oh, feel positive, and don't feel, because then that's not great either. That's harmful to the body as well, and your cells and things like that. So, go through what you have to go through, feel it, and then let it go. Focus on something that you're grateful for, your life, food, your the roof over your head, or whatever it may be. So I say focusing on feeling good is the primary thing. Just alignment with that higher self, if you want to call it God, source, infinite intelligence, whatever it is. Align with that, and know that is who you are. You know what I mean? And it's only for your highest good always. You know what I mean? You just have to see it that way.
Can you share with me that first book that they shared with you? Do you remember?
Oh man, it's something about your thoughts. Geez, my wife would know.
Okay, so I think my first book. Well, I take that back. It wasn't a book. My first confirmation. I'll put it this way: my first confirmation with. Okay, I think I have to step back just the further. I always grew up in the Baptist background. My mother would have these different little sayings from the Bible, right? And I truly believe that was her way of her first jump into affirmations, without even knowing that those were affirmations. So her favorite one was call those things that be not as though they already were, right? Yes. And then she had another one, which is, I think, a religious favorite: ask, believe, receive, right? So for me, it was ask, believe, receive. If you really, really want something, Sandee, ask for it, then believe it. You don't deny it. Don't turn around and say, just because it hasn't shown up, it's not right. So, and then she said, she would teach us kind of how to believe, not really being in depth with it, and that's one of my problems with the Bible at that point. It didn't teach you how to do these things. Right. At certain steps that it would say, do these things. Right. Right. So, so my mother gave me the best. I truly believe that my mother was she was my one of my guardian angels in human form. I truly believe that for me, my mother used to always tell me, you know more than you think you know. And she would always say, spiritually, you know more than you think you know. And it doesn't all have to come from the Bible. Right. And at a kid, when you're telling a kid this, a kid is like, let me go out and play. She would always do that. Right. So when I was raising my kids, I would still say those things to them: ask, believe, receive. Call those things that be not as though they already were. I would explain to my kids that you have to ask for things as if it already exists. Yes. Yes. And so I remember my younger son and his then girlfriend gave me a DVD called The Secret. That's when The Secret came out, 2003. Right. And he walked up to me. He ran up to me so excited. I think he was in his, I don't know, I think he was about 18, maybe 17 or 18. Right. Maybe even a little bit younger. And he said, Mom, you've got to see this. This is just like what you say. Call those things that be not as though they already were. Right. And I said, I said exactly that. Right. Just like that. Right. And because I just thought it was something else that, they want you to buy something afterwards.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So I
Absolutely.
think that was almost about the end of October, beginning of December. Not
Mhm.
October, beginning of November. So
Right.
Thanksgiving goes by. Christmas always, Orease, Christmas is almost coming. We're about to have Christmas dinner, and
Mhm.
both my daughter and I look at each other, and we say, "Ooh, we haven't watched that DVD yet." And
Wow.
everybody's got to come over. So he's going to be over. Girlfriend's going to be over. They're going to ask, "Have you seen it? Wow, did you like it? Was it exactly what we told you?"
Right.
And we literally put it in the computer. My computer put it in and sat there and watched it. And we're looking at each other,
Mhm.
watching it. And then my daughter takes out her little notebook and she's writing notes. And I'm saying, "Oh, don't forget that one," that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
But literally just and she looked at me, she says, "Yep, this is exactly what you tell us. Call those things that be not as though they already are," that's and that I remember that was the first time that I connected my spirituality, or the God in me. That was my spirituality, that God
Mhm.
in me,
Yes.
acknowledging, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
right? That
Mhm.
there's more than that. There's like going back to what my mother says, that there's more to me in me than I know,
Right.
right?
That's
But
right.
religion, as I was growing up, was only telling you that God's outside of you.
Yes. Yes.
And I now I understand why I had all those. As a kid, I drove the people crazy at my church in Bible study.
Really.
Yeah, they would tell my mother, "Could you hush her up? Could you, could you tell her to tone it down?" That
Mm.
kind of thing. And my
Right.
mother would come home and say, "What did you ask? What did you say?" And I'd sit
Mhm.
down and I'd tell her, "Oh, I asked this, I asked that." And my mother would go, "Keep going."
That's you know, I
Yeah.
like that because she didn't try to hush you. You know what I mean?
No,
I
there
like
was
that. I
no,
like,
yeah, there wasn't any hushing. It was just whenever I had a question. Have you ever
Mhm.
growing and don't in that period of me asking questions, I was allowed to go to every church trying to find the answer. I even
Mhm.
did Jehovah's Witness. We had a next door neighbor who would tell my mom, "Your kids are wild children. They're out, blah, blah, blah. They're out to the literally." I grew up. I'm 67. I'm stumbling. 67 solar returns. I'm happy.
Right.
And I grew up in the 60s and 70s where you could go outside. You could be out all day, but you had to come home when
When the
before the street
lights, that's
came
right.
on,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
So literally, her next door neighbor, who was Jehovah's Witness, said, "You need to bring those kids so we can do, some Bible study. They don't need
My,
to be ripping and a running." And
uh-huh.
literally, my mom said, "Okay, well, they can come 2 days a week. 2 days a week. That was my Saturday and Sunday.
Oh no. No way.
It was like, for 2 days a week, which was Saturday and Sunday, and I think it was 2.5 hours long
Each time?
each time."
Oh boy. That's
Okay,
a big
so
chunk out of your day as a
yeah,
kid.
that was like, us kids got things
That's
things to
right.
do, right? But
Right.
even with them, I was asking those questions like, "Wait, what?" Okay,
Hmm.
and then they would um they would have the Bible, but they wouldn't use it. They would use their work study book.
Hmm.
That was to help you understand the Bible.
Right. Got you.
And even then, I would ask questions, and finally, the next door neighbor told my mother she can't come back. My brother and sisters could come back, but I couldn't come back.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
I was like, "What? No, how? Why?"
Hmm.
And I went to the Mormon church, and it was the same way. They have a story about how Black people were back then how Black people were cursed from
Mm-hmm.
one of the books in the Bible.
Right.
And I said, and I went, what? Wait, what? Show me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, convince me.
Right.
And
Right.
then they tried to pull out their work study book. I said, no, let's go to the Bible. Show me.
Go straight to
And
the
it was
source.
like,
Right.
no, I don't think that's what that says. But that
Wow.
was me. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the kid. And of course, back then, adults back then, it was children should be seen and not heard.
Right.
Right. So for me, it was I was being seen and heard. And my mom was saying, what question did you ask him? I said, well, they told me Black people were cursed, and they tried to prove it to me in the Bible. I think it was something about oh, I can't remember the guy's name. He he was drunk in his tent. His son
Mm-hmm.
came in and found him drunk, but found him naked, and looked upon him in his full glory, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the son went and told the brothers. The brothers walked in backwards. They covered him, and because he saw his father naked in the temple, he was cast out of the camp that they were in,
Mm-hmm.
and wandered the desert till he had his own, found his own people, or his own,
Mm-hmm.
made his own tribe.
Right.
And that was Black people. And I went, no. I just told him, I don't know. I was 9 or
Right.
10. Nope, that don't work for me.
Yeah, this don't sound right. No, yeah, right,
Yeah.
right,
You
right.
know,
I pretty much didn't do a lot of questioning back then. I just went along with it because I didn't know. I didn't have anything to compare it to at the time. So I just went along with it and I did it. But some things just after, I mean, I have no bad thing to say because it gave me a foundation, and I have people I still love and who are part of it. And, I want everybody to be happy with whatever they believe in. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
I
that's the
just
whole
happen,
experience.
I just choose to not let life just happen. You know what I mean? And I want to create what I want to experience and then let it unfold how it unfolds because, in this physical body, you don't really know how it's going to be brought to you. You may
Yeah.
say, I want it exactly like this, but no, you can't do that because that's, we are not designed to know how it's going to come and when it's going to come. And you shouldn't even ask those questions because that'll stop it anyway. That'll hold it back from coming to you the way, in
So
the first place.
so you do you believe in a version of embodiment, embodying, the the core of it?
You mean
So embodying
vibrationally?
vibrationally, yeah, to
Oh,
give
absolutely.
the universe the to I'm trying to think of it. Embodying meaning that you vibrationally invite. It's like if you want well, you're already married, so for me, I'm not married yet.
Mm-hmm.
No, for well, I don't know if I can use me anyway. I'm in my earlier life, I dated and married a man, but in my latter part of my life, I prefer women. Okay.
Right.
So my next relationship, I just told the universe, oh, I just want a relationship. I want a relationship that works. I want a relationship where both of us are great communicators and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But do you believe in the embodiment of the hair color, the
The specifics of it all.
the specifics of it all?
Uh,
I mean,
well,
like I would say, like Abraham Hicks talks about, if
yes.
the specifics, but if you're not if you can't get to the specifics and go general.
Yes.
So have you done both? Have you done the specifics and the general? Is
Yes.
there a certain cutoff part where you stop that so that you can go into flow state? kind of
Well, I basically, sometimes you don't even have to say anything. I mean, I'm a verbal kind of person. I'm a quiet guy, but I was just telling my wife, I'm quiet, but I'm not shy. You know what I mean?
thing? Hmm.
But I like to verbalize how I feel. So I think it a lot, but a lot of times I'll say to the universe or God, what I want, but I don't say I want it. I'll just say thank you for already giving it to me. Thank you for allowing me to, have this and have that. But I'll have it in specifics. You know what I mean? But it depends on what it is. If it was a mate, I wouldn't put it like that, because that mate that is a vibrational match to you may not have that hair color and, those color eyes you want and stuff like that. So, with that, I would go general. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because when you get specific with stuff and you're resisting that because you don't have it, and you're really resisting that, then you should go general. You know what I mean? When you are too specific and it's not coming the way you want, you're gonna have a wall up, and
Mhm.
then you're gonna be like, but why isn't it here? And then that's more of a wall, and it just keeps on going. So, for the most part, I just say thank you in general. Like, I don't ask for money. I don't say things. I'll just say thank you for the abundance I'm surrounded by. Thank you for these trees and this grass and this oxygen and this love all around me and all that stuff.
Okay.
And that right, and my health and well-being, that's wealth to me. That's abundance. That's you have it's water and food and everything. So with that sense of gratitude, then the things that you want will come. That will keep you in alignment. That gratitude and appreciation for life and love and things will open up everything else. You don't have to be specific anymore, because the universe already knows what you want. You don't have to say anything else,
Ah,
really, but just
I never thought about it like that.
right.
Because
It's already known.
yeah, because for me, it's like, well, I don't want the universe to bring me a 23-year-old, or
Right.
or let's see, my oldest son is, he's 47
Hmm.
or something. So
Right.
even if you look and you say 47 is not, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It's not, it's a thing. But
Right.
I'm looking, going, how do I say that without getting caught in it? And you just kind of, thank you for that. That
Hmm.
was the moment for me to like actually go, oh, I just be thankful for everything that I do have.
Hmm.
Not that I'm not thankful for, my I'm just as thankful for my marriage and my failed marriage, because
Hmm.
if
All of it.
both of those things hadn't happened, then I wouldn't be right here today
Right.
doing what I do.
And you wouldn't know what you wanted either, because having what I guess quote unquote failed or didn't work is what gives you clarity on what you do want. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
exactly.
So
Because
but it's good to be specific in the beginning, because you want the universe to know what you want. You know what I mean?
how do
But
you
get
shift that? How did you shift? Did you do that in your okay, I'm gonna qualify the before I ask. When I was, to give you a little background, when I was doing the 2000, I think it was 2003, either between 2003 and 2008, the DVD The Secret came out.
Mhm.
About the same time, I was doing, two things happened to me.
Mhm.
When I was a kid, I always wanted to act. Growing up with a single mom, and I was number three of five children, so I had an
Mhm.
older sibling, older brother, younger sister, older brother and sister, younger brother and sister.
Okay.
So the boys in the family, they weren't interested in acting. All they wanted to do was play sports. So
Mhm.
every time, this is about the time that they had Barbizon School for
Right. I remember.
whatnot, and they had
Right.
all these different workshops, right?
Mhm.
So every time I would go to a workshop, and they get to the money part, it was times, well, not for my older sister, just was there to babysit, so she wasn't really interested. But every time
Mhm.
I would go to do something, it was me and my younger sister wanted to do everything I did. So that meant if acting school was only 300 for 3 months, it would be times 2.
Right.
And then my mother would just say, nope, can't afford it.
Right.
That kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when The Secret came out, the first thing I said, they said start with a cup of coffee or a parking space. Well, both my daughter and I, we would do the cup of coffee, and we do, and we got pretty proficient at it, and we're going, ooh, we're creators,
That's right. Yes.
Right. And for me, I said, well, I looked at my daughter and I said, well, I've always wanted to act. Right. So I think I'm gonna be the creator of a talent agent or an acting agent or whatnot. Right.
Right.
So and my daughter, she chuckles and she says, okay, go ahead. And she told her older brother, mom wants to act. So what they did was they looked up a workshop for me, and it was I think it was like a 4-hour workshop for X amount of money and whatnot, and they split it, and then they surprised me and said, hey, here's your acting class. They do, you read the sides and they work with the on set, the whole kind of thing. So so I did it. Right. And I felt 2 things happened. The teacher, when she was looking at the reel, explaining the things that I was doing and what I could do better and how I should try this, she said, the camera loves you. And I looked at it and I said, well, I love me on the camera. Right. So she says to me, the next half of it was her explaining how it works and everything. And I said, okay. I said 2 things. I said, what does it take to get an agent? And she explained it. I said, okay, got that. I said, did you hear that, universe? We got that, right? Right? Take notes, right? Literally, I was doing that. Take notes, right? Because it's still outside of me then, Orease. It was just outside of me. Well, what happened was, the following weekend, I went back to I missed going to my Starbucks run, and you have normal people in there that you smile at. You don't know their names. They're at certain tables or whatnot. And when I walked in, all these people said, hey, we missed you last weekend. These are people that I don't know their names. I just see them in line. I smile at them, or they smile back. And there was a guy that was sitting at a table, and he got up, he walked over. He says, we missed you, and I'm like, and I'm going, shit, what's going on here? Is there like a punk camera or something?
Right.
So I told him, I said, well, I told him what I did. And then all 3 of them, 2 of them were women. They got their coffee and then leaned back over to me and says, here, take this card. This is a card for an agent. Another lady said, take this card. This is a card that I know that's for headshots. And then the guy that was sitting at the table says, I'm waiting for my daughter to come out of her acting class that's across the street.
Right.
Here, take my card. I'm going to put a phone number on the back of it. And he put the name of the lady. Her name is Amy Linden. And, she's a teacher, but she's also an actor, blah, blah, blah. He's explained. Right. And here I've got all these cards. So I'm at home, I'm sitting with the cards and I'm going, my eyes are just kind of going, okay, what just happened? Is this the universe? Or what is it? Kind of thing, right?
Universe.
So I called the first number I called. What happened was it fell out my pocket and it fell out backwards with Amy Linden's number on there. And I called her and she says, are you Sandee? And I said, and I just went, what? Yeah. Oh, so and so told me that you would be calling me. If you want to come, I have the class is 3 hours long, and
Mhm.
you can what do they call that? You can it's where you do it, audit it
Mm.
for free.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I like you to audit it, and uh, uh, you can come on Saturday this weekend and Saturday next weekend, so you can get a good audit.
You mean audition?
No audit, where I just go into the class, don't play for the class, sit there, and listen to
And just
everything,
watch
and
and
just
just.
watch, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
I and she didn't. Usually an audit is just like for one class, and then you have to decide. You decide. She said,
Right.
"Do it. I want you to do it this weekend and next weekend as well."
Okay.
She doesn't know me, but once again, I'm looking up at the. Are you doing this? Thing, right?
Absolutely. Right.
So at the same time that I'm doing all this stuff, I I find out that I have a ductile carcinoma inside tube in one of my breasts.
Mm.
So I have to do. They do a surgical biopsy, and then about that same time, I'm doing radiation treatments. But
Mm.
I don't let it stop me.
Right.
So I'm going to work. I'm doing the
Mm.
radiation treatments.
Right.
I decided I'm going to start taking classes, so I'm taking classes, and
Hmm.
then I'm being my own agent, because all of a sudden it's like you know, get on. I think at that time they had what was called now something casting.
Hmm. I don't know.
This is like 20 years ago, but
Right.
anyway, where you could go in and be online and be your own casting agent. I
Mm.
went, and my brother-in-law he did great pictures. So he
Right.
did me,
The
my
headshots and stuff.
headshots and
Right.
everything. And I was doing all of this based off of Abraham Hicks.
Hmm.
Not
Wow.
not just Abraham Hicks, but based off of the secret.
Right. Hmm.
Even learning how to, go, okay, even the health,
Hmm.
right? So it was just I don't know. Have you ever done that kind of before the books that you read, right?
Hmm.
You and your wife. Did you ever do those leaps of faith without the books or the spirituality, or did you ever
I
find, do you know
I
what I'm
did. Yeah, but nothing specific. Just knowing what I wanted and saying to myself, I'm gonna have that. And I didn't know about the secret yet. I didn't know about any of that. But uh, if I put my energy into it,
Mhm,
if I show interest in it and it makes me feel a certain way,
mhm.
I continue looking at that thing or that car or that book or whatever it may be, and I would just continue to go with that feeling, and then it would come. It would eventually come. Something wonderful would happen because of my interest in it and my focused interest. And then later on when I learned about vibration and frequency and law of attraction and the secret and all that stuff, I'm like, I've been doing it all along. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I was doing it by default, but I thought that's the way life was. It's just
Oh,
like
okay.
I didn't know I was being shown, like I was getting hints from this and hints from that. I didn't know I was doing it. You know what I
Right,
mean? Unless uh, I physically did something with my hands, or when I walked to go do something, I didn't know I can do it from thoughts and beliefs and then
right.
actions. You know what I mean? And the way
Yeah,
I feel about stuff. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because basically the only way, you uh, really feel what you believe to be true. Your
right,
feelings come from what you believe to be true, good or bad. You know
right.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And because you may feel a certain way about a person, but it may be because you believe them to be a certain way. I don't like them because blah 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 blah. It's whatever you believe to be true, and that's where you get the feelings from. You know what I mean? And that's but if you keep on that way, it'll just bring you what you believe in. and it could be what you want or what you don't want.
You don't want. Yeah, that's the reason why I mentioned the acting is because where I was going to go is when you audition for parts. How do I want to say this? When you were okay, the first question, how long have you been acting? Have you been acting since you were knee-high to a duck?
No.
Okay.
I've been acting about 10 years.
Really?
But I dreamt of it as a kid. And this is a good story as far as law of attraction, knowing what you want, and you don't have to say much, because I've always loved acting, even as a child. Growing up in Brooklyn, I would sit down and watch my floor model color TV sitting on the floor, and I'd be watching these black and white movies, right? And it was color out then, back then, but I was watching black and white. I'm watching, films from the 40s and 50s and 60s and stuff. And I was the only kid that I know was watching that stuff. All my friends were watching.
Over here in California, I was watching that stuff too.
Oh, okay.
So,
right.
yeah, I
But
might
as
be
far
slightly older than you, but I was watching it too.
right.
Black and
But
white.
as far as my, like my immediate peer group and everything, I was the only one doing that. But I know the stuff I was watching made me feel a certain way. And I was just like, I would love to do that, because I'm engulfed in the scene, and there was no special effects. There's no cars jumping over buildings. There's none of that. You know what I mean? And I was captivated by the scenes and the people acting. And I'm just like, oh, I love this. I would love to do this. So that always stayed there. But I didn't pursue it back then because I didn't know what my options were back then. I'm going to the, Kingdom Hall Jehovah's Witness. I'm doing stuff. I go to school, got married, did this and that. And life just kept going, you know what I mean, without me pursuing the acting. And then I just retired from the post office last year, right? So a few years, about 10, 11 years ago, a woman who has since retired, she kept saying, she'd come in every day and she would say, "You belong on television. You belong on television." And I'm going, yeah, thank you. I just thought she was being sweet. I'm like, thank you so much, And then she did it so much that I'm just like, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me something? Like, I still didn't know about, law of attraction, any of that. I'm like, God, you trying to tell me something? Is this a sign? So I told my wife about it, and we did what we had to do. We got some headshots, and I auditioned for an agent and manager. They liked it. They told my wife, he's a natural. We just want him to take classes for techniques, for technique. And, I did it. And that's, the rest is history. But the thing is that I wasn't continuously putting it out there. Universe, I want to be an actor. I just figured I was just going to retire from the post office and that's it. That'll be my life. But I'm happy, I'm enjoying my life, regardless. But it brought me that. It brought me that sign. Because I wouldn't be on TV now if she wouldn't have brought that sign, unless the universe would have brought me some other sign. But that's a perfect example of somebody, something being brought to me. The cooperative component, as Abraham Hicks would say, these cooperative components are brought into your life to, show you what you need to see, and I'm so happy she did. And I never got to tell her, I mean, she's still alive. I just haven't seen her. I never got to tell her thank you for, saying that, because you ignited something in me that I had buried. And it came back out, that fire. I'm like, yeah, I want to be an actor. I can do it. I'm still young enough and in shape, and I can do this and do that. And she, that little light of fire just made me go for it, So.
Yeah. So with that, the gifts, excuse me. Forgive me. Hold on. I know what it is. I need to turn off my air conditioner.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Blowing around my dog's hair on my carpet. Yeah. So I just told on myself, yes, I need to vacuum. I know. Okay. So the gifts, the talents, the skills that you've been using all your life, now that you're seeing or becoming more conscious of how you use them.
Mm-hmm.
When you're using them outside of yourself, do you find it's more natural?
Outside of myself? What do you mean? Like,
Okay, well, most people, when they talk about it, they talk about the outside world, the vision of the spiritual self, and then your outside world, you know, what do you call it? The political world, this world, everything that's outside of self. You know,
mm-hmm.
like for me, it's kind of like if I want, if I'm looking at the outside world and I myself feel very congested or very claustrophobic or very uh, 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 I'm trying confused or chaotic, I
Mm-hmm.
will go inside and look at that projector that I have projecting outward because it's
Mm-hmm.
projecting
Right.
the world outside to me. I know to do that. Most people, they just live, you know, they just live life like you were saying.
Right.
The same thing with me. I even though my mom gave me a platform to be very vocal in asking questions, there were still not a whole lot of questions that I asked that she could help, you know,
Right.
uh, uh, that she could uh, answer, give me a different answer. I was still learning that, uh, marry your height for women, for girls at that time, you know, because I grew up in the 60s, and by the time I graduated high school, it was the 70s. And
Mm-hmm.
for women, there was only one choice: is if you weren't getting married to your high school sweetheart and living happily ever after and having 2.3 kids or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
you were probably going to be a secretary or administration, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or a nurse.
Right.
Those were the career uh, those were the career choices.
Right.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
anything outside of that, like being an actress, there weren't, you know, a whole lot of
Mm-hmm.
roles for Black women actresses. Although
Mm-hmm.
you saw, I'm trying to think of her name. She played a nurse. She had a sitcom. I can't remember her name. Diane
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 Carroll. Diane
Diane
Carroll. Right.
Right? So, you know, there were a few that were doing that, and then I think about
Mm-hmm.
the 70s, it was the, George, Jefferson and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
and that kind of thing. But, you know, it wasn't like those roads were far and few between, you know,
That's
'cause
true.
I was still a
Right.
kid that wanted to act. Every time something came on TV, I was in front of the TV and people didn't
Yes.
move. We want to watch the TV.
Right.
So I still grew up marrying my high school sweetheart, living happily ever after. Now my mom was on a different trajectory. She wanted me to finish college and go ahead and, you know, get a career. And
Right.
then if I still wanted to marry my husband, then you could do that, Sandy. But no,
Right.
no, no. I knew what was best for me. I'm
Yes.
going to marry my high school sweetheart. I'm going to live happily ever after.
Mm.
And about the third year, it was like, there's no happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
There's no this, you know,
Right.
it was literally my ex-husband walked out. But we were both 20, we were both 20 when we got married. What the hell did we
Mm.
know about life?
Right.
And I can't
Mm-hmm.
really I can tell my story from my perspective, but he had a whole different perspective of why,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I have to say, he and I are still the best of friends and
That's
very
good.
interconnected
Mm-hmm.
with each other, but not on a marrying kind of thing. And
Right.
certainly not best friends, but certainly um, uh, uh, understanding that, you know, that part of a life led a story that led to right now who I am
Right.
right now. and
Mm-hmm.
and the same thing for him as well. And the fact that you said you grew up Jehovah's Witness, he did too, you know.
Okay.
So, and
Wow.
he was in and out of it, you know. When
Okay.
he was with
Right.
me, he wasn't doing the Jehovah's Witness thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But when he married his third wife, she and him connected, and that was part of the religious, that brought him back together. And it was like, okay, you know, you do that because you do that because that's going to make you whole.
Yes.
It's not going to do that. I believe that for, as I look at life, as I look at that projector that's projecting from within me outside of the, a lot of dark night of the soul walks, right? It helped me see that I have to say, because I eventually told my ex-husband, I have to thank you for walking, because you were the first one that realized that this wasn't what you wanted.
Right.
You just didn't know the proper etiquette, the proper way to do it.
Right.
But neither both of us did. Right.
Right.
So and it was time for him to go back to his faith for him. And for me, it was good because, the things that my kids were able to do, they wouldn't have been able to do it back then under the Jehovah's way that was being taught at that time.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
Okay. Because my younger son wouldn't been, all he wanted to do was take his notebook and write lyrics and do hip hop and produce. That was his mind, And my older son wanted to dance, and he wanted to do ballet, and and little boys don't do ballet and blah blah blah,
right.
That kind of thing, and
that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So so there was this path that, like you said, for me, I believe it was totally guided by what you might want to call it spiritual guidance or angels or whatnot, that whole kind of thing. Because there were things that people would tell me, oh, your sons, they need to be they need to get rid of the pie in the sky dreams. Dancing isn't going to pay the bills. They were barely 18. Dancing isn't going to pay the bills. They hadn't even, they need to be working at night at Target, that kind of thing. So for me, I was the single mom, making these, decisions, and then realizing that there were people coming to me going, well, you always have something inspirational to say. What do you got to say about this? That kind of thing. And it was like, really? Well, you guys know that my inspirational doesn't come from, the Bible. I went through, I think I skipped a lot of it because I did the Baptist, the little Baptist girl, drove people nuts there. I moved from that because it was like with my mother, I could go through, okay, well, maybe something in Methodist can help me out. Okay, no, Methodist can't help me out. As a little girl, I went to when my mother was working on Sundays, I would go with my aunt to Catholic church. Now, Catholic's church at that particular time, I think I was between 6 and I don't know, maybe not even 6, maybe about 4 or 5 to about 8, and it was all in Latin. Okay, really? Right. So it was kneel, stand, kneel, stand. But my first question that got me kicked out as a little kid, that my aunt decided she didn't want to take me anymore, is that I was this kid that would sit there. It was still where you go into the confessional, the Hail Mary, full of grace. It's been 6 months since I blah, 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 or whatnot. And I was sitting there, and for some reason, where you're not supposed to be able to hear the confession through that little thing.
Right.
For some reason, the divine, I had to say, had me hearing everything. So when my aunt came out, of course, I don't know how to shut my mouth. I asked her, I said, what did you do wrong? Right?
Uh-huh.
Why did you have to, because with Hail Marys, you did something wrong. You got to say Hail Mary,
Right.
repentance, you know, and, and I said, and she says, honey, what do you mean? I said, well, you gave all those Hail Marys. You said that you hadn't did it. And everybody was listening. And the the whole thing. So it was like I couldn't go there anymore because it's like, I don't know, I didn't, told some information that wasn't
Right.
right. But
Right.
I was trying to understand.
Yes.
I was trying at that point, I was trying to understand why another person had to go to another person to get to God.
Right. Right.
Right.
It should have been direct. It should be direct.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. So then going into then by the time I reached like my teenagehood, it's, or yeah, not teenagehood, but all that adult well, when you think you're an adult, but you're still 18 and you don't know shit.
Right.
Okay.
But think you do, yes.
Okay. And so then it's okay, well, I know that I don't want to do the Baptist. I don't want to do the Methodist. I just couldn't find the answer. So how about non-denominational? How about, born again Christian? Maybe I need to rededicate myself to God and do it without the buildings, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. But in that, it meant I did not understand. I just kind of went with the flow at that point because some of it sounded good. Some of it fit me, but not all of it fit me. And what didn't fit me was, wait a minute, I've got to admit that I'm a sinner. Okay. Do you see what I mean? It's like,
Right.
where does that, if God so loved everything that he created and then is the God that so loved us so fickle that it turned out, because we're supposedly ate of the forbidden tree, which is just wisdom and understanding, then how I don't get that, right?
Right.
And then you're telling me that later on, God says, I'm not fickle anymore. I'm going to send my son in human form. He's going to die for you in pain and shed his blood. And then that's going to heal you. But you've got to believe. Now he's the method by which you come to me. I still didn't get that.
Right.
It's like, why can't I? And this is my little kid in me going, why can't I go direct? I don't do that, right?
Right.
So for me, it was like this whole transition into that, and about the same time, and the pièce de résistance was I did everything that they told me I was supposed to do in order for God to love me, which is get married, marry my high school sweetheart, let the man be the head of my household, including my religion, and have these kids and be the wonderful little house. And then the shit still didn't work. So I was like, okay, nope.
Right.
Right.
That's right. I'm doing everything you tell me I should be doing, and it's still not working. So now what?
Now, yeah. And that was about the time that, and everything had broken down. Okay. And my mother had passed away. So the person that I just kind of could bounce things off of and whatnot. So I was kind of like, I was about 30. Right. My kids were becoming teenagers, and that was, late 30s. It was like, okay, a whole new ball game was about to erupt. But at that point, that's when the throat chakra in Sandee shut down.
Okay.
Because at that time, my mother was kind of like the one that I thought gave me the power to go ahead and ask these questions. And I had somebody in my corner.
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have anybody in my corner. So it was like when I looked around, oh, I can't say the shit that I said because there's nobody to really back me up and say, keep going.
Right.
You know, have you
Mm-hmm.
ever had those moments?
Uh, where I felt like I had no one or like
Yeah.
who's gonna. Uh, no. I always felt because people will let you down. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? If you expect too much from them, and um, I'm not one to ask people for anything. You know what I mean? I mean, if I need your help with something, I'll just, hey, could you help me do this? But that's small stuff. But
Mhm.
when it comes to life stuff, there's maybe a handful of people that you would say, hey, man, I need blah blah blah. But otherwise, I didn't. I felt that I could always handle it, and that I've gotten this far, and uh, things always work out for me anyway.
Right.
So that was my attitude. Even before the spiritual stuff, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. So I kept that attitude, my whole life. And even when something goes left, something that I don't particularly uh, prefer to happen,
Mhm.
my outlook is still positive because it's the alternative is I go down a downward spiral and situations get worse. And now that I know what feelings do and my beliefs, I choose happiness. I choose to feel good. I choose alignment. So I don't let anything outside
Right.
affect how I'm supposed to feel. I don't watch the news at all, at all. Uh,
Me either.
although I know what's happening because you can't escape it if you're on social media somehow, or you hear people talking, "Hey, you heard?" I'd be like, "Nah, I don't really care," or I don't pay enough attention to it.
Yeah.
But I know that draws me into an area or vibration that I don't want. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I go within and go, what would Orease like to experience? You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm simple. I love going out in my yard and walking on the grass barefoot and doing my grounding, feeling the breeze and feeling the sun and hearing the birds chirp. Those are the kind of things that I'm appreciative for. I have food and things like that. And I have a wonderful wife and children, grandchildren. And that is what uh, I focus on, the things that uh, are in alignment with who I am, because is an individual. So if I feel in my core, I'm love. I call myself love all the time. I'm love personified. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Okay.
Through and
Yeah.
through. I come from love. Uh, I emanate love. Love just comes off me all the time, and I love that because I feel it, and I'm not just saying it to say it. I literally feel it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I just love everybody. You know what I mean? I don't have to know you, and so I don't judge. I try to see life and people through the eyes of God. I'll say God, so people who don't know spiritual name or whatever can know what I'm saying. I try to see without judgment. No
Right.
matter what anybody's doing, everybody's on their journey at their certain point of evolution, and you can't rush it, because what I'm learning now, or what I learned last week or whatever, they may not have gotten to yet, and they're still on their path trying to find themselves. You know what I mean? And who they are. So who am I to judge? I just
Yeah.
love unconditionally. Period. And
How does that work for you in the industry?
as far as my acting career, yeah,
Yeah,
oh
because
yeah,
yeah.
because I learned to just do it from a place of love. Like, I love doing it. I love auditioning. So this wall behind me is this is my office. I do it here and I'll set it up. I have my wife on the other end doing the other characters while I do my characters. And I do it, and I don't do it to get the job. I don't do it, oh, I hope I get this job. I do it because I love it. They ask me to do something, I do it. I'm that character. This is my portrayal of this character that you gave me to do today. So I had the opportunity to play it, even if you don't book me for it. I had the opportunity to do it. I have to leave it because I can't get attached to it.
Right.
If I get attached to it, then if I don't get it, then I'm heartbroken and I'm feeling down. No, because there's somebody else who gets that role that was a vibrational match to that, who embodied that character or had that look that they were looking for. You don't know what it is. And so that's how I approach life, and that's how I approach my career. I just freely just be myself, be authentically me all the time.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's all I can do. And I leave it at that. I leave the rest to the universe. Let come what I'm a vibrational match to.
I think that's what, now, of course, because I had to decide. There was a point in time where one of the directors, I mean, everybody loved me when I was doing the indie films and I was doing all these student films and everything, and I really loved it. And everything was aligned with, my job. I would go into work early when I did auditions. I would do auditions, book auditions anytime after like 12, it's that kind of thing. But and this would be nice to get another actor's take on this. The reason why I decided that I did not want a career in it was, at that point, my children, everything that I had going on for my children, my job, if some people had said, well, I think you sold out, but I liked my paycheck. I liked getting paid, twice a month.
The steadiness of it, the consistency of it, right?
Yeah, and the consistency of it. And my children, the apartment we had, everybody had their bedroom. Food was in the, everything was going on. And I enjoyed. There was a part of me that just enjoyed being another character. But I enjoyed being my children's mother more, right?
Yes.
And the comfortability of what they had going on. And, plus I was also going through some other things, but it was that someone said that, if you really want to do this, you have to be on call or ready to, to go to any audition at any time. And, you'd have to probably change. You couldn't have a regular 9 to 5. You'd probably have to do, waitressing or, and I just kind of thought to myself, and one person actually said, oh, you're probably going to have to end up, you wouldn't be able to keep that apartment. You'd have to share, blah, blah. And I thought about my kids, and I said to the universe, I said, that's not fair. That's not me being of service to all, because my children are part of the all.
Right.
And I had to sit with myself and really go inward and go, well, I enjoy the acting part. And here's the thing. When I came out of it, I enjoyed the thing that I enjoyed the most was not the auditioning, because I didn't really enjoy the auditioning. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It was, I didn't enjoy the cattle call. I didn't enjoy the, people, making side remarks, and you have to pretend that you didn't hear them or any of that stuff. Okay. But what I did enjoy was I enjoyed reading those sides. I enjoyed becoming the character. I enjoyed, becoming in alignment with the character. And I really enjoyed being in my acting classes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then I have to say, well, in that case, is it something I want to do as a hobby?
Right.
And then I said, well, okay, Sandra, I don't know. I have all my stuff in a box, and all my, all the movies that we did, everybody sent, instead of just sending the clip of the reel, they would send the whole thing. They would sign it, so I have all of that stuff. But I had to actually say, and the one lady, her name is Suzanne Lyons. She does kind of like sci-fi horror. you know,
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think one of the ones I did for was called Candy Stripers. And
Okay.
all it was featured extra, but I didn't know what they did was they picked me and a couple of others because we had resemblance to their main characters,
Okay.
right?
Gotcha.
Okay, but in the main characters in there, it was so funny because one of the guys thought I was the main character, and they wanted me to send them a signed uh, a signed headshot, and I couldn't understand first how did you get my name,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And because I'm a featured extra, my name wasn't probably on there anyway. I
Right.
mean, if anything, it's going to show up like way down there.
Yeah. Right.
But I looked like the girl that played one of the characters. Now, it so happened that the main candy stripers in the character, they did nude shots. I didn't
Mm.
know that because I was not in that, in those parts that they filmed, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
he had contacted me before I got the reel.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watched it and I looked at the girl, I went, "Oh, he doesn't know her name. He
Mm.
thinks I'm her."
Right.
Right? And my daughter was going, "Mom, she looks like you." And I went, "Yeah, but that's not me. I wouldn't be so I'm not that bold enough to do a
Nude.
nude. I mean,
Right.
but you know what I mean? So, but
Right.
with all of that, even the gentleman who said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed." So what they did was they put my name when they did it on Rotten Tomatoes. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't have her name,
Okay.
so they put my name,
Oh.
right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
just looking and they're going, "Oh, they look alike. That must be her."
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me a while. I had to write a couple of letters going, "Nope, that's not me. Can you please remove me from that, that thing?" Finally, they did,
Mm-hmm.
because I actually had told I went to a couple of, what do you call it? A couple of workshops that
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne had did. And I
Okay.
had mentioned it. I didn't mention it for her to do anything. And she says, "Don't worry, I got that. I'll handle
Okay.
it."
Cool.
And I didn't think about it anymore. I just thought she was making a funny,
Mm-hmm.
like, you really want somebody to think those were your boobs. It's no, well, I got my own boobs. I don't need to have somebody else's boobs. But so I thought she was just laughing. And then later I got an email that said, we have spoken to the director of and she has agreed that this is not you,
Mm-hmm.
but we are going to give you honorable mention in it, blah blah blah.
Okay.
you know okay, but just as long as they know that those are my boobs that people are looking at,
That's right.
right, that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
but with all that going on, I finally realized that what aligned with me was that I wouldn't mind being a full-time actor,
Mm-hmm.
not actor, but uh, uh, what do you call it? In like doing theater,
Right. I got you.
right?
Yeah.
Like going and having classes to learn how to do theater work and just doing it, not necessarily for the money, but just for the enjoyment. you-
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not necessarily for it to be a big production, but just in a,
Mm-hmm.
just in the, what do you call it? The community playhouse theater, or
Right.
something in my neighborhood or something.
Mm-hmm. I
But it
got
took me a while to say to myself, it's okay.
you. Right.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of this. Well, this whole acting thing for me, it happened at the right time because I look back at my life and certain parts, and I'm trying to figure out where would this have fit in, and I don't know if it would have any sooner than that because of my kids growing up and me wanting to be there, and wanting to be a part of their lives, and sometimes I'd have to pick them up from after school and do things, and I can't disrupt that just because I got a call. Oh, sorry, kids, I got to leave you in after school. I got to audition. Can't do that. And I didn't want to do that. I enjoyed being a father and picking up my kids and stuff like that. And, so I hear you when when you say stuff like that, but now I can focus on it full time.
Right.
I did it when I was in the post office, but I had it a schedule that was that allowed me to be able to do it. I worked at night, so I was free during the day to have my auditions, to film if I needed to film. I had plenty of time that I could use if I needed to take 2 or 3 days off to go somewhere and film for a few days.
Yeah.
So the job allowed me to do what I needed to do as far as acting. And last year I said, okay, you know what, it's time for me to go, because
Yeah.
I left New York and I came to New Jersey, and just to commute back and forth every day to go to work to Brooklyn, I'm just like, it's a bit much. So I
Mhm.
made a choice, and I didn't. I went with what I felt,
Right.
and I didn't want to. Come from a place of fear. I didn't want to say, "Oh, then what am I going to do if I leave early? I know I'm not going to get all the money I'm supposed to get because I'm leaving early. As it's penalties from leaving and not retiring the right time." And I'm just like, I'm not worried about that. I'll be all right. Everything is always working out for me. Everything is
Yeah.
always working out for
Work
me,
it
and
out
I
for me.
use it. And I
Yeah.
still use that every day.
That was the exact same thing for me with COVID. It 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 was it was a not precursor. It was one of those things that kind of jettison you into the new part of you. I had literally 2 years left before I could retire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID, unemployment wasn't, once your unemployment ran out, unemployment wasn't, they weren't even, the phones would just go busy. They wouldn't even
Really?
respond.
Wow.
And so I was going, okay, money's not running out now. I was doing the all my needs are met. They were met before I was born, before I even came into this existence. So,
Mm-hmm.
so what next? And my head went, well, not my head, the divine just went, retirement. And of
Mm.
course, the ego is going, no, if you retire, you've got 2 years to go.
Of
And
course.
literally open that door for, I had one person say, you're just giving the government money if you retire early. You're not getting all you can get. And I went, forget that. I'm going to
Mm.
do this. And literally the same day that I called the Social Security office, and of course my ego was about to go off. Ain't nobody going to answer the phone. You're going to get a
Right.
recording.
Right.
The I think the third ring, it's a real person, a
Mm.
real guy, and we're just having this conversation, and I'm telling him what I got to do, and we're talking about, at that time I was just starting to do my soul awakening with Sandra on Instagram and getting everything together, that I
Mm.
knew that this was the time to do my inspirational and motivational speaking, and what my desire was to be. My desire was to be on the same stage as Michael Beckwith, or
Mm-hmm. I
as,
love Michael Beckwith. Love him.
right, or as my thing was, I would just love to be on the stage with Esther Hicks, or
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Hicks. I just, this is what, I would dream about it, and the dream would happen in such succession till afterwards I would see myself on the stage. it,
Mm-hmm.
it would start out very small, and
Mm-hmm.
then the dream would happen. The next time I dreamed, it was a little bit bigger, and
Right.
then before I could dream, and I just see the whole stadium,
That's great.
right?
Wow.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
I was telling the guy this, and as he was asking me questions and we were talking, and then I said, so I asked him, I said, okay, so tell me, what do I need to do next? He says, no, I filled out all the information. So you're going to have a phone appointment on so and so day, which was 2 days later. And
Mm-hmm.
and these are the questions that they're going to ask you. He even said, matter of fact, you already know the answers because I have already asked you, the questions, that kind of thing. And literally the phone call came through the next 2 days later. I'm having this thing. And the lady literally asked, you know, the 3 questions. I answered them. And she says to me, okay, I think that was in May. My birthday was the next month. And she says, uh, your, your, your paycheck is going to come that third Wednesday. The third Wednesday will be the Wednesday after your birthday. And then that's literally, so it's universe is just going, okay, I got you. Because the moment I went, well, I don't care. All I care about is getting money. It changes everything because I don't get it, you know, I don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I don't get vacation, but at least I've got the money coming in. It's mine. It's due me. It's gonna, you know, and then they explained everything. They said, you know, if you can work getting retirement, you know, but you know, you'll have to pay back if you work more than, I don't know, if you make more than, I don't know, 17,000 a year or whatever it is, a year, you have to pay back $2 for every dollar you make. Right. And I just went, okay. But then it's like, you have to, now you're working, you go to agencies and you tell them, you all you want is part-time and all they look for is full-time. So it's like, okay, nope, that's not in it, because now I'm becoming more in alignment. Now I'm telling people, nope, that's not in alignment with who I am and what I want to do.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. You know, so it's like, so with that, now that you're retiring, the alignment is the alignment of what you do. People notice in your acting career and in your everyday life that that alignment in you?
Oh, absolutely. Always. It can come through. It comes through the screen sometimes. The people I work with, because I also coach actors as well, and I read for them, and we do auditions together, and I get money from that too. Along aside from my retirement money.
Right.
And they just like, oh man, you just made me feel so comfortable. You made me feel at ease and less stress, and your energy is wonderful, and it's just constant. And the same thing on TikTok. It's just whatever I bring to the table, whatever I do across that screen, affects people, and I love that, because that's who I am. You know, genuinely, that's who I am, and so I enjoy being me. You know what I mean? And I don't have to put up a facade, because everything that I talk about, I either experienced or have seen happen. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what I'm talking about, because not because I read it, that I tried this and I've tried that, and this is what happened. And I know that everybody's going to have a different experience or whatever. But the bottom line is, you're in control of how you feel and what you get to say yes or no to, or what you think is good or bad. You're in control of all of it. And nothing is more important than you feeling wonderful and knowing that you're worthy of the best life you possibly can have. You know what I mean? That's what we're here for, a little while, a very, very short time.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a whole lot of time spent not feeling good. So feel good as much as possible. Look for things that'll make you feel good. Take trips, do whatever it is.
So that's part of your so that's part of your when you're doing your workshop, or you actually teach the law of attraction or the law of vibration as part of the package of learning about acting?
I haven't gotten to that point, but I have planned on it. It's not a regular thing. I mean, it comes, my acting and thing with other actors, teaching them, it's more of me auditioning, but I'm coaching while I'm helping them audition. I'm reading for them the way my wife reads for me, but I'm also coaching at the same time. So the law of attraction doesn't really come into play per se. I mean, it's still, I'm telling them to, you know, you have this character on this paper, but you need to find within you what resonates. You know what I mean? You need to be you on that paper. You need to
Right.
change that name on that paper to your name.
Right.
And how would you act? How would you respond? You know what I mean? And so that helps them stay grounded and like, you know, not try to be somebody else. Be you.
That's the so you teach alignment.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Or you help them to learn to become and become vibrationally aligned with the character that they're becoming.
Right. Right.
Okay.
But I also tell them that the character is them. It's not. They're really not that character. It's you portraying or just saying those words, not really portraying that character. Because I mean, it is the character because they have titled it. This is such and such, and this is they're 30 something, and they're like this, and they are ambitious or whatever. But you have to put yourself in it because everybody's going to have their own interpretation of that character. So that's why it comes from who you are.
Right.
And how do you interpret those words and that situation?
Right.
You know, so
Because back, and like I said, this was 20 years ago, and I remember my teacher saying the I have to laugh because she's the worst thing you can do is change the writers, how the writers right
yeah,
in
right.
the script. And so she would always give me sides that they were never a Black woman. They were always, it was always a young white. She would pick these scripts that were, you know, she just, because she just said, you that I feel can do this. And it would be, you know, something, you know, it was never, you know, my age or never, you know, whatnot. And she said, who would you be in there? And I would look at some of the words and I go, well, I would never say these words, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And she say, well, that's why you have to go deep. That's why you can go, is there a you in there at a certain time that would say it a certain way and then lay the way how their words are on top of your words vibrationally and then deliver the line. So you're still in the character of you know, that kind of thing. And
Right.
it's like, you know, I and she was funny. She would say, I think she gave me something, and she would say, haven't you ever, I think she said, she said something about ebonics or something like that. And I'm going, nope. I came from a mother and father who were very determined that we learned how to speak the English language the correct way.
Right.
So, you know, so rulers would, if you're talking a certain way, rulers would get, you know, at home it was like, no, you don't use that word, you use this word. Or they were very proud of, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And
Right.
and no, I didn't talk the neighborhood lingo. Though my kids kind of they dabble in both. I feel that they're very diversified in being multi dimensions. I think they walk a dimensional. They cross dimensions into, you know, they could come into my home and be perfectly, you know, whatnot, and then go into the neighborhood, you know, even in their 40s and you know, say the N word, you know, or whatnot, and homie and blah blah blah, and then turn around and come back through the different dimensions, and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But it was like, now that I'm learning about alignment, now I go back and I think about what she was saying about being about laying on top of who I am and how I would have been for, even it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing. It's about the words and how they resonate for you, and
Mm-hmm.
what words would you have used, and then lay the line on top of it. And now I turn around and go, oh, that's alignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's aligning the character.
Yeah.
Who would you be at if you could be this character? What was there a time at a certain point in time that you were aligned in yourself as that character? Now I get it now. Before
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I wouldn't have said that like that.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Yeah.
then the she would say, well, you wouldn't have got the part, you
Right.
know. But she's right. I wouldn't have, because I would
Right.
be judging it.
Right.
Even now, knowing about ego and how the ego works. The ego is in judgment, and that stays there to protect you, because
Mm-hmm.
it brings the outside world into you.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes into your unconscious, and it goes through files and says, oh, here's this one. This looks kind of sort of like what she might be possibly going through. Let's give this information to her, gives it to
Mm-hmm.
your consciousness while you're sleeping, and then when you wake up, you're doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So I finally go, oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know and exactly doing that thing. Yeah, right, okay. That's why I didn't get that part or
Right.
whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I
Yeah.
couldn't do. She was always saying, Sandee, you can do comedy. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
become you have to become you have to, and she would use the term, you have to be energetically part of the character. And I said, well, what one, and I used to tell her, what one person thinks is funny is not, how do you make somebody's line funny if you don't find it funny? Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So, and she would tell me, well, then that's what you have to work on. I said, but why? And she says, well, right now, most, and she was trying to say it in her very nicest way, because she was a Jewish white lady, and she would say,
Mm-hmm.
at that point in time, the Black community that was in the acting world they weren't the main character, they were the sidekick or the best friend, and it was usually a comedic kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's like, well, I don't want to be the sidekick, I want to be the main character.
Right. You want to be the main character.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Right.
mean, that's what Abraham Hicks says. It says strive for the main character.
That's right.
But it was
Yeah.
like, nope, acting wasn't for me, but inspirational and motivational was. So we
Mm-hmm.
are at we are at the hour and a half mark, which,
Mm-hmm.
thank you very much for giving me your time. Do you
My
have
pleasure.
any questions for me?
Uh,
Because I did tell you that this was a dual kind of thing.
uh, no, I mean, you gave me a lot of information, a lot of background on you, and that's nice to know because I didn't know much about you, but from what you've had on your page and stuff like that. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, and it's been nice. It's been nice. I don't have any questions though. It's just
Okay.
been really nice though, and it's
Is
good
it?
to know that you did the acting thing. That's pretty cool because I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah, I used to talk about it a lot because I enjoyed it. I
Hmm.
I enjoyed being my own agent, literally being my
Hmm.
own agent, being my own manager, and it was only like I said, I think I truly enjoyed the student films.
Hmm.
Just being there with people, that the student, going to the community colleges, or I think there was a couple of them that were the drama of the arts, and and different stuff, and actually getting booked. I got booked for a lot more student films than I did for just regular kind of,
Right.
and the indie films were really nice,
Right.
but they were always, what I loved was the featured extras.
Oh, okay.
It was fun because the featured extras, you were always in the scene with the main characters, in the
Right.
background, the kind of thing. And one day, the lady says, "Well, you're gonna have two lines." I said, "I thought I was a featured extra." She says, "You do know featured extras get like maybe one lines or whatnot." And I said, "Nobody gave me sides." She said, "No, I just wrote them for you just now."
I
I
hear
went,
that.
"Okay."
Uh,
And she says, "Just give it your best, give it your best shot." Right. But
mm,
I did enjoy that.
yeah.
And that was at a time where I was learning about the law of attraction. I was learning
Hmm.
literally between The Secret and Abraham Hicks. It was just a lot of, flow,
Hmm.
of,
Yeah.
of, of, and, you know, how do you say it? It was a lot of, uh, it was learning about flow state when flow state hadn't even became a main topic.
Mm. Right. I get you. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
anyway, thank you so much for joining,
Yes. Yes. My
and
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
you know, tell
Really
your wife
appreciate
thank you very much for having such a wonderful husband. I'm
it.
just,
Oh,
you
thank you
know,
so much.
I'm
I appreciate that.
yeah, I'm just so when you had said, "Is it okay if I mention what you?" We were going to do this on my soul conversation, the podcast, but
Mm.
you had some other things going on health wise, and
Okay.
um, I was like already like going, "I want to pray for him," and the divine said, "Pray." And I was like, I didn't even know what was going on. I said, "I
Right.
don't know what's going on." And the divine said, "It doesn't matter. Pray."
Mm.
You know,
Hmm.
and it's just
Appreciate
my light language came in, and I just like, okay, I'm
it.
gonna pray
Hmm.
for him. It's like,
Well, thank
and
you.
then
I
you showed
appreciate
the
it.
after pictures of. I thought that was very energetically not bold, but that you shared what you went through when you
Yeah.
showed the, you know, was
Yeah.
that part of the way that you were also healing as well by sharing?
Yeah. Just it was me trying to let down the wall, show a vulnerable side, and to, I guess, to show others, and it's for myself too, is to not be attached so much to the physical. You know what I mean? Worrying about what I look like in public. Everybody wants to look good and feel good,
Right.
but that shouldn't be the main focus. You know what I mean? And so the whole thing for me was embracing the change and not worrying about people are going to see this thing on my head. See, I got a little thing here.
Oh, I didn't even notice it until you pointed
Right,
it out. Yeah.
right. So the thing is that, but when it was first done, and I was, it was kind of profound because I had the stitches were in, and it was dark and everything. So it's healed up pretty nicely, and the swelling has gone down. It's been 3 months,
Right.
but I wanted to. I mean, I did that for others, but I did that for myself.
Okay.
Because I didn't, I was gonna wear a hat today, and I'm just like, my wife is like, you're gonna have to be on this set and film stuff. You're gonna have it there too, right?
I
And I'm
love
like,
your
yeah,
wife.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's
She's
it.
fantastic. She says, I think you look fine without it.
And
Still
you do.
handsome. I'm like, thank you, thank you. So
Yeah.
I just can't be afraid of anything of what people are gonna think about what it looks like, or I don't remember Orease looking like that, or whatever the case may be. So I did that for me, but
Right.
so I could.
But also for others, to help others understand that they have to be, that they can be, not that they have to be, but
Right,
that they can be, that they can utilize self-love and be confident and be and just be who they are,
right.
regardless of other people's opinions, because
You're
other
right.
people's opinions are just that, just that, other people's opinions.
That's it. That's it. And it's your opinion about yourself, your belief about yourself that matters. That's why I did it. I'm just like, I love me. I'm fantastic. I'm all, and I tell myself that's all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it doesn't matter if I got an extra stitch or an extra knot. I'm still the same person, but actually not the same person, because I'm letting that old person
That old
go.
version.
That old version who's holding on to that and worrying about what people think what you look like. You gotta let that person, you gotta grieve that. I had to grieve. I'm still, you gotta grieve that person and let it go and be like,
Mhm.
okay, this is it. So
Yeah.
now what?
So
I gotta
yeah,
move forward. Yeah. All right. This is me, and this is who I am, and I still love me.
yeah.
You know.
This is me right now being happy doing what I'm doing, even though I'm I don't know. It's me becoming a new version of me. It's me going 20 almost 20 years ago. I went through, like I said, my the the biopsy and the and the thing, and it's happening again isn't the right thing. I'm experiencing a new version of me right now because it's left breast. It's a little bit different than before, with the terminology and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
and what I realized is my ego, instead of saying why me,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't saying why me. My ego is saying why now, because I get
Mm-hmm.
to say, who am I in this new version? Well, who I am realizes that I need to, instead of spiritually bypass being human
Mm-hmm.
and not saying how I feel, because the doctor was saying, well, right now, how do you feel about what we're telling you about the procedures that are a possibility going through? And I realized at that moment that fear is an object that has to be felt in any of its versions. So I get to tell which version I'm at. And I just
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I'm a little bit scared,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
then once I've felt it, said it, I get to let it go and go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now the unknown, because it is a part of the unknown, just like 20 years ago, it was unknown. Who am I going to be right now, opening up
Mm-hmm.
the unknown, making
Right.
it known to me,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right. It's
Wow.
like, yes, I got to go through this, but
Mm-hmm.
it not only is it going to help me get through it, but once I'm through it, it will be a footnote that I get to help somebody else with.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that's that's exactly the same thing with me. Yes. You
yeah.
you said it so eloquently, but yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, this is a work in progress. So as soon as I figure out how to get this as a video to you, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can share it in your archives of your YouTube or whatnot, I will
Okay.
I will get it to you. I don't know how to do it yet on
Okay.
Restream, but
Okay.
that's hey, it's a project that I'm
That's
saying
it.
I'm up for the task. I just have
That's
to
right.
learn how to do it.
All right. Keep me posted. And thank you again for a wonderful talk, enlightening, and uh, it's just wonderful. I just want to
Uh,
say I appreciate you.
it's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. Thank you so much for being part
Yes.
of this.
Yes.
All
Love and blessings to you always.
right. Wholeness and blessings to you.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
I will see you later. Oh, wait. Where
Oh,
can everybody reach you?
oh, I'm on Instagram. I have a YouTube page. Uh, I'm on TikTok a lot as well. A lot of motivational, inspirational words of wisdom, my experiences, all positive stuff, loving stuff. Um, yeah, so those are the
And it's
basic.
under all your pages are the same. Orease, uh, Orease Orease
Orease
Bowers.
Bowers. My Instagram is Bowers Orease, and it has a blue check just because I got hacked before.
Okay.
So that's the only page that has Bowers Orease, but everything else is Orease Bowers.
Okay.
And that's where you can see me, and
All right.
we
So
can chat.
everybody who is not following this young man, follow him. Inspirational and motivational, a gift to you from the divine.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Sandee.
Thank you.
All
All
right. Have a
righty.
wonderful night.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's see.
I don't even know how to get out of here. Hold on. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, maybe up at the left-hand cut.
Mine is in the right. It says leave.
Okay.
All right.
All right, everybody. So we are thankful and grateful for your this live stream. If you want more of Soul Conversations with Sandra or Soul Talk with Sandee M, I am at Soul Awakening with Sandra. To the left of me or to the right of me, there's a tag that you can you can put your phone up there and hey, you got me.
Absolutely.
All right.